Back again. Another episode of A Muslim and an Atheist Breaks Bread. What are you saying, Pops?
I'm good, man.
Yeah? Special guest today, co-founder of Making Change Studios. Usually he's doing the producing for us, but he's decided to jump on because he was very interested in this video. I have no reservations of this video. This was actually requested by one of the subscribers. So I am looking forward to jumping into it. Just a quick question before we start. Can you find God without faith?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I want to watch the video first. So
You want to watch the video? Dad, any thoughts on that? Or do you think the two things are intrinsically linked?
I think that's intrinsically linked. Faith is God because if God is a spirit, you can't see or touch a spirit, so it's faith in it.
Okay. Interesting. Alright then, so as I said, first of all, I just want to shout out to all the subs, everyone who's liking, commenting and subscribing and watching. We have the full conversation at the end, so we're going to dive straight into it again. I don't know who's talking, don't know the context of what he's going to say, but yeah, let's jump straight into it.
This topic, finding God without faith, is very personal for me. I was raised in a Roman Catholic family, and I went to Mass every Sunday. As a child, I attended a Catholic grade school, where we were taught by nuns dressed in flowing black habits. Inside the towering church, during Mass, I was fascinated by the ornate altar, where priests conducted a mysterious ritual that transformed ordinary bread and wine into the body and blood of Jesus Christ. The notes of the church organ vibrated deep inside me, and the melancholy chanting of Latin prayers sometimes moved me to tears. As a child, I was quite devout. I even fantasized about growing up to become a priest. But before long, I felt deeply troubled about my faith. Our school curriculum included a daily religion class in which we had to memorize and recite the official catechism of the church. We used a small book like this one, and it began, "Who made us? God made us. Who is God? God is the supreme."
Quickly, you know when I was younger, I went to like a few different schools. So when I went Moor Green, it wasn't a religious school. So there weren't no hymns, there weren't none of that. When I went to St. Peter's, very religious school, hymns every morning, prayer at lunch. Do you think that's like indoctrination from young?
Listen to the name of the schools. That's a clue to what you was going to get in.
Well, yeah, definitely. But I'm saying, like, is it, because I don't know if it's the same now, but I think there was a point where people thought religious schools, all they did have better education.
I think what is that saying about, you either you get educated or you get indoctrinated? I think that if you go into a school and your parents have given you an education and then you hear this stuff, then you further educated on it. Whereas if you're going in blind and then you hear that and then it becomes indoctrination. I went to a few schools that didn't really sing hymns, and then I went to Cottridge, which was C of V school, and they sang hymns in the assembly every day. I used to sing along to the hymns because it felt right to me, but I used to be able to sing along to them.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I always used to question, like, why did they make us sing hymns? Like, they don't know what religion I am. Like, anyone in that class could have been any religion, but I'm singing like about Gabriel and all these things and da-da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older, I kind of thought like that didn't feel right to me. So that to answer that question, yeah, I do think that it's kind of a bit of indoctrination, yeah, depending on the school you go to. Because everybody's got their own agendas, and
Definitely.
a supreme being, infinitely perfect, who made all things and keeps them in existence. Why did God make us? God made us to show His goodness and to make us happy with Him in heaven. How can we gain the happiness of heaven? To gain the happiness of heaven, we must know God, we must love God, and we must serve God. Several times, I raised my hand in class to ask questions, like, would my Protestant and Jewish friends also be able to go to heaven? The nun scowled at me and said I shouldn't ask such questions because these teachings simply have to be believed. They have to be completely accepted without doubt. I wondered back then, why did God give us powerful intellects if we were not supposed to use those intellects in religion class? Well, being scolded by the nun was the beginning of the end for me. Even as a child, I disliked the dogmatism of the church.
I think it comes to like blind faith, and it's like I remember I went to uni with this Muslim girl, and she used to come in and she was very westernized. I'd say like no hijab, no nothing. She just like you just think she was, like I said, she was a Muslim, but you knew she was born here. And then all of a sudden one day she just come in, boom, yeah, like head to toe hijab, headscarf, like and I was
Who's the
like,
new girl?
I said to her, I was like, what's going on? And she went, you know, because we had like quite a lot of Muslims on our course, and she started like rolling with them, and then it was kind of like, yeah, she said, I've got started reading my Quran, so dress like this. And I was like, oh, where does it say that in the Quran that you have to dress like that? I don't know, I'm just genuinely asking her. So she's like, well, I said, have you ready? Like someone just tell you that you have to do that? And she's like, no, but it's just what we have to do. So I was like, so you haven't read it? And she hadn't read it. But she was like, it's just part of my religion that we have to do that. So I was like, well, did you know that that actually comes from like before Islam? And like it was a thing of class, and it was like Arabian princes never wanted their women to be looked at by commoners or anything like that. So they used to make it, and it just got passed down. So I was like, but the point I was getting was, why is there this thing of like, you have to follow? It's not a thing of like, surely if you've got questions, the people who question what they're learning are going to have a stronger understanding and relationship with their God in it. If they believe in God, they should be able to question it to get a greater understanding rather than just following.
I think that from what I've read, because I, as a young, late teenager, read a lot of different religious books. Like I read all the scriptures, started reading like the principles of Islam. I've read bits of the Bible, like just random pages or something. Someone told me just open it and see where it opens and read it like that. And I always feel like they're all open to your own interpretation of them. And that's how I think that's how it should be. Like, to me, they're a guide to being a good person, and not someone that's going to be destructive. And that's why, because I've read several different ones, and I never really got like, some of my family are quite religious, but they never really pushed me into any kind of one. They left it over to my own interpretation and my own choice. And my choice was to read several different viewpoints on it. And my interpretation of it is that they all want the same thing, essentially.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I disliked the dogmatism of the church, even though I didn't know then what the word dogmatism meant. I quickly became disenchanted with the church. and by the time I was a teenager, I had developed an allergy to religion, so to speak. Later, when I was still in my 20s, I felt something missing in my life, and that led me to undertake a spiritual quest. I started by reading books on Western philosophy, but I soon shifted to what we called Eastern philosophy, Taoism, Buddhism, and, of course, Hinduism. I was really impressed by the works of Swami Vivekananda, the brilliant disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. That's how I got introduced to Advaita Vedanta. I started to attend classes taught by monks from the Ramakrishna mission. Then, in 1981, I happened to attend a lecture by Swami Dayananda, a lecture that affected me very deeply. Swami Dayananda said, God is not a matter of belief. God is a reality to be known, a truth to be discovered. Hearing those words transformed my thinking. And, as you might already know, Swami Dayananda would soon become my guru. Instead of using the word God, Swami Dayananda generally used the Sanskrit word Ishvara. I later learned that he did this to avoid the enormous confusion associated with the word God. Most people agree that the word God refers to the one supreme being who created the universe. Yet, for Christians, God exists as three divine persons: God the Father, His Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit that dwells within. Three persons that are said to be one in essence. For Jews, on the other hand, God is Yahweh, the historical God of Abraham, who gave the 10 Commandments to Moses and delivered the Israelites from slavery. But Muslims declare there is no God other than Allah, the all-merciful and all-powerful, whose prophet is Muhammad.
No. If Muslims believe there's one God, Allah, and Christians believe there's one God, God, then surely they're saying the same thing, isn't it? There's one God.
They are some
The only difference is the language,
Yes.
to me.
So this is what we're saying. Innit? So God, when you think about Christians follow Jesus, and you have to think that Jesus as well spoke. Jesus didn't speak English, did he?
It was from
It's
the East, wasn't
He
it?
spoke Aramaic.
Yeah.
So Aramaic, the word for God is Allah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear people talk about Allah and they're like, oh, Allah, you know, like they're like fuck Allah or whatever they're saying, and it's kind of like, hold on, surely you're talking like about the same God that your Jesus that you're following, that is actually how he would refer to God. But you don't want to dismiss it because of the connotations of another denomination of an Abrahamic religion has chose to say now. It's weird, isn't it?
Indoctrination, isn't it? Because the same people believe that Jesus had blonde hair and blue eyes or whatever, or light brown hair and blue eyes, but how could he? How many people from that part of the world have got blue eyes like?
But most people don't think about religion deeply. You know, they go to church and they do enough to
Appease themselves.
Yeah. So they have their contribution on the Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That is the notion the church went its, walk back. How Sundays used to be in the old days.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have grown up in a different time. Because Sundays used to stop in England.
I remember you couldn't go shop.
There was no shops open.
Nothing was open on a Sunday. Remember that?
Yeah.
I don't
No
know.
town.
Can't remember.
Wasn't open. And
Town didn't open, shops weren't open.
Nothing was open. Sunday was damn day. Saturday was
young.
Sunday was damn day. And you'd visit families maybe. And that was how England was. But then they made superstores open on a weekend, and that was it. Sunday was murdered. So people were, by virtue, more had that time to think about their relationship before with God. Now it's all swipe and looking for something that triggers people thought about it. So yeah, they were affiliated, but it wasn't deep thinking.
What he was saying in the video about he was Catholic and then he went on a spiritual journey. But that didn't sit right with me, because I think from you're born you're on a spiritual journey, and from as a child, from the way your parents teach you things, the way the school teaches you, the way you interact with people, you're on a journey from then, and it's always a spiritual journey.
But are you on a spiritual one or a physical one?
Both.
So this is what I'm saying. So you can be on a physical journey, which you're just getting up and doing what you're doing. And
Growing.
I feel like when you're on a spiritual journey, you're more kind of looking at your inner workings.
I believe in a spiritual awakening.
Thoughts.
Because you could be on a spiritual journey, but then you only have an awakening at some point in your life, like where you kind of open your perception to more. But I think you're always on a spiritual journey from day one.
Mm. I think a spiritual journey probably has to be self-aware, is what I'm trying to say. So I feel like people on spiritual journeys know they're on spiritual journeys, whereas I feel like if you're not even thinking about your ideas, how like the world came to be, what you think of the afterlife, you're just on a physical journey, like you're just partaking in life rather than trying to figure it out.
The reason I think that you're always on that journey from birth is because even when you have that awakening and you become self-aware, you start thinking about things from your childhood and instances of when people like singing hymns in school, and like I remember singing hymns and not really connecting with them, and then I remember going to Morocco when I was younger and hearing the call to prayer first thing in the morning and feeling like, wow, like that resonated with me, do you know what I mean? And it didn't resonate the same way as the hymns didn't resonate the same way. But essentially it's the same kind of thing, isn't it? So it's like, I just think even if you become aware when you're 40, 50, you've still been on the journey.
Yeah.
I think spiritual, in the context of what they're talking about, is that religious God journey. So it's not the existence of a spirit. They're not questioning. They're saying your spiritual journey is when you start to question theology and connect with God, not just be alive. So there is a spirit, you're alive. That's the journey. But when you start looking, not just listening and singing the songs, but actually reflecting and thinking about the text and the subtext and everything, that's when you're spiritual. And then for some people, that takes them to becoming a gang member, being baptized and all sorts of stuff. That the spiritual journey they refer to, where they become bishop or pope in the end, but that kind of journey.
Unlike the followers of those three Western religions, most Buddhists and Jains deny the existence of an almighty supreme being who created the universe. And for Hindus, well, it's a whole lot more complicated. The Hindu tradition accepts many individual gods and goddesses, yet all of them are considered to be forms of Ishvara. In the Rig Veda, the most ancient Hindu scripture, there's a famous but often mistranslated verse that says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. Ishvara is one, who the wise describe in many ways. Even though Ishvara is one, Hindu scriptures describe Ishvara very differently than the one supreme being worshipped by Christians, Jews, and Muslims. You might be surprised to know that a remarkably precise definition of Ishvara can be found in many Vedantic works. This definition is incredibly helpful because so much confusion arises when we use words like God or soul or divinity without clearly defining what those terms mean. So a clear, precise definition of Ishvara is crucial. and that's what we'll discuss next. Before we continue, please note that Ishvara is not a him, like God the Father or like Yahweh of the Jews. But grammatically, the Sanskrit word Ishvara happens to be masculine in gender. For this reason, masculine pronouns are used when referring to Ishvara. The precise definition I mentioned before is this: abhinna nimitta upadana karana, the efficient and material cause for the universe that is non-separate from it. This definition might be precise, but it's much too terse and scholarly to be understood without some help. Let's try to unpack those words. First of all, material cause and efficient cause are philosophical terms used to describe the two main factors necessary for any act of creation. To make a pot like this, the material cause is clay. That simply means clay is the material needed to make this pot. But in addition to clay, a pot maker is also required. The potter is the efficient cause, the maker, the intelligent agent needed to make a pot. To make a table like this, wood is the material cause, and a carpenter is the efficient cause. Obviously, nothing can be created without a suitable material or without a skillful maker. Now, look at this. Potter and clay are two separate factors needed to make a pot. Carpenter and wood are two separate factors needed to make a table. In both cases, the two factors, the maker and the material, are different from each other. But the definition of Ishvara we're discussing describes him as being both the maker and the material, both the efficient and the material cause for the universe. To make a pot, a potter can dig clay from the ground. But to create the universe, Ishvara can't go to some kind of celestial storehouse for raw materials. Before the universe was created, Ishvara alone existed, nothing else. There was no external source of material. Logically speaking, Ishvara himself has to be the material cause for the universe as well as its efficient cause. How can that be? It's explained by a famous metaphor found in the Mundaka Upanishad, a Vedic scripture that says the universe is like a spider's web. Yatha urnanabihi srajate grinate cha. The universe is like a web that's spun by a spider and later gets consumed by the spider. That's an absolutely brilliant metaphor. Obviously, the spider is the efficient cause, the maker of the web. In spite of its extremely tiny brain, the spider has all the knowledge and power it needs to make a web. In the same way, Ishvara is said to possess all the knowledge and power needed to create the universe. That means Ishvara possesses infinite knowledge and limitless power. With that knowledge and power, Ishvara can create an incredibly complex universe, a universe that functions in a perfectly orderly manner. Ishvara's intelligent order ensures that planets continue to orbit their suns, and electrons continue to orbit their nuclei. Ishvara's intelligent order also ensures that you receive the results of deeds you've committed in this life and in past lives. Now, let's return to the spider metaphor. For a web, the spider is not only the efficient cause, the maker, but it's the material cause as well. The spider weaves a web from silky threads produced by its own body. A potter needs clay, but a spider already has the necessary material within itself.
In a similar way.
Didn't you say that Ishra was or the
No,
only thing
just-
that could...
Yeah, just using it as a
Both.
metaphor, because obviously it's just saying that basically spiders, usually there has to be two things in it. So if I'm going to make something, if I'm the carpenter, I'm going to need wood to make a table in.
Yeah.
Whereas a spider
does both itself.
does both itself, so it's just a good analogy or metaphor.
But
to
then surely
use.
that must mean that spiders are quite like...
Divine.
Yeah.
They're like alchemists. And
Yeah.
is that like alchemy when you can create something
From nothing.
from nothing?
But then the spider
And
needs something.
also the reason why the woman said that in that way before about a carpenter is because you have to think these texts are what, 4,000 years old or older. So the terms he's using, the one who even had the carpenters, clay, well they might have like clay then, clay and things, but
In a similar way, Ishvara himself is said to be the source of the fundamental stuff out of which the universe is woven. Ishvara manifests the universe from himself without needing any kind of external material. In this way, Ishvara is both maker and material. Also, when a web gets damaged, the spider who made it will eat the threads and recycle the material to use in making another web. That nicely represents how Ishvara is said to withdraw the universe into himself at the end of a cycle of creation, before making the universe manifest once again in the next cycle. Okay, the spider metaphor is really helpful, but we're not done yet. Our definition of Ishvara describes him as being abhinna, non-separate. That is, non-separate from his creation, from the universe. A spider is obviously separate from its web. A spider can even abandon its web. But Ishvara can never abandon the universe. Why? Because according to the definition, Ishvara is utterly non-separate from the universe, as we'll discuss in just a moment. The spider metaphor is not perfect. As you know, all metaphors have limitations. Metaphors are tools we use to understand things. After hammering in a nail, if you need to tighten a screw, you'll grab a screwdriver. In the same way, after using the spider metaphor, we can use another one, a metaphor found in the scriptures that compares the universe to the dream world that you create each night while you sleep. When you sleep, a dream world arises in your mind, a world filled with people, clouds, trees, animals, and so on. Then, when you wake up, that dream world fades away. It returns to its source. It returns to you, its creator. For that dream world, you are its creator, its sustainer, and its destroyer, just like Ishvara in the form of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, is said to be the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of the universe. More than that, to create a dream world, you are both the maker and the material.
I was going to say that because you know how with what we've learned about the Hindu gods, so what he's saying is you've got Ishvara, who's the
source.
The source, and but then they say what Brahma's the universe, and so that's what he's saying. Then you've got Krishna the creator and Vishnu the destroyer. So basically, essentially, again, they're all one god. But they all come from the Trinity again. Like I said, there's always a Trinity in religions. I don't know why.
Is that metaphoric as well?
But that's the gods they pray to, and
yeah. But I'm thinking is the idea of having those separate as gods a metaphoric way of breaking down what's actually happening? And actually, in actuality, it's all one.
I think it's not so much of a metaphor.
It's not just the three.
There's 39.
Yeah, but these are the three significant ones.
It's literal, but what they believe in Hinduism, and again, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong here, they believe that there's one God. However, that God comes to us in different forms. So there's a form for, like I said, there's a destroyer, a creator, which is the main trinity, which is Brahma, Krishna, and Vishnu. But then there's other gods as well, who come into it, who you could kind of see as like demigods in an essence.
So is the destroyer meant to be like in Christianity the devil?
No, because I don't see it like that. They see it as cycles, ain't it? So whereas there's a judgment day where the devil wants you to do bad things, and it's the same Christianity.
Yeah.
Whereas the destroyer in theirs isn't like that. That's just someone who starts the cycle of life again, and so it's not bad.
Like seasons.
Right.
Yeah,
winter,
you need something to end for something to start, and
when you were talking about the spider thing, so I had to keep going about the spider, but you know that song you used to sing when we was kids in nursery?
It's a spider.
That shows a cycle, innit?
Down came
the rain, wash the spider out came the sun, dry to put away, east with spider comes back again.
Yeah, it is.
But that shows a cycle, innit? So maybe not all nursery rhymes are bad. Maybe none of them are bad, but you know.
I don't think they are, but I think they're all banned now.
I don't know.
Yeah, like Bar Black shit is banned, isn't it?
Oh, you can see why that, though, innit?
Yeah, there are different sorts of songs nowadays that they teach kids.
Yeah, Nicki Minaj.
It's politically correct stuff. Trends.
I don't know what.
The material, the efficient and the material cause. As the efficient cause, you possess all the knowledge and power needed to create the dream world. It's created from your memories and imagination. And further, it is you who determines the laws of nature that govern your dream world. You are the source of its intelligent order. That's why you can fly in your dreams and fall great distances without getting hurt. In the same way, Ishvara is said to determine the laws that govern this universe. Ishvara himself is the source of the intelligent order that regulates the world. For your dream world, not only are you its maker, the efficient cause, but you are its material cause as well. The trees and houses in your dreams are not made of wood, nor are the people in your dreams made of flesh and...
Do you think you are the Trinity in your dreams? Because surely time is the destroyer, really, and it's like I don't think you decide when to come out in your dreams, do you?
But I think you can decide, you can affect your dreams based on, you know, substances you have through the day, the food you eat, whether you go to sleep at night, how long you sleep for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You have to kind of like incubate yourself in a way, innit?
Yeah. I mean, unless
in
you
order to
lucid dreaming.
stimulate the dreams to come.
flesh and bones. What are they made of? They're made of you, of your own mind stuff, so to speak. In the same way, everything in the universe is said to be a manifestation of Ishvara. The universe is therefore made of Ishvara. The Chandogya Upanishad says quite boldly, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this, the entire cosmos, is nothing but Brahman, nothing but Ishvara. My own guru often reiterated this teaching. He said the truth is not that there is one God, but rather that there is only God. Wow, what an amazing teaching. Okay, we've just finished describing Ishvara with the help of a precise scholarly definition. We also used a series of metaphors to better understand the source and creator of the universe. In that whole discussion, what were you asked to believe? Nothing. Nothing at all. That's what I find so remarkable about Advaita Vedanta. Its teachings make extensive use of reason to present Ishvara as a reality to be understood, a truth to be discovered, a supreme being who can actually be known and not remain merely as a matter of belief.
Only God, because I often say to you about what's that theory of the Gaia hypothesis, and when I watched what's that film, the animated one, which is similar to the kind of Gaia hypothesis. Avatar. Like everything seems connected in it. Everything's like you can find God in anything. So it's by saying there is only God, it's saying everything is.
See, I like the synergy with this, with science, and because when we say God, Ishvara, whatever, like, in my personal understanding of the universe or how I look through the world, my lenses that, whether you call it Big Bang or it's the quantum theory.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is every single thing on this planet came from one place. Whether it's you, whether you've been created, so essentially every single cell, so even if you think of like a newborn baby,
like carbon and
every single thing that makes up that child has been here for 13 billion years.
Yeah.
There's nothing new. So essentially, if you was going to relate to it, and this is what I'd relate it to, like you're saying, there isn't one God, like everything is God because everything comes from the same thing.
I know this is a bit off topic, but when you were talking about cells and atoms and planets going around each other and protons and neutrons going around each other, it made me think about like people that try and play God in it. Like trying to split the atom and artificial intelligence and creating something that becomes a oneness in itself, and but it's still of this world.
100%, yeah, definitely. Like I said, every single thing on the planet's already been here. It's been here, like I said, 13 billion years. Brand new table. Everything that's made that table come from when that first star exploded and created the universe.
So dissipates and reforms and.
So if you're talking about God and you think that's what I like that as well, like you said there, and there's not one God. Everything is God. There's only God. There's nothing else. So I relate that to the quantum, which I do like. What do you think, Bob? Not buying it. You think it's separate and there is a God, a creator, he created. But we are nothing is God. We're not part of God.
I like there is only God. Because that is basically the fundamental of all of them.
Is it? It's not really. Because
it is for the Christian. you know, to be
It's like Islam,
to
though.
be like Jesus. Your mission is to be a Christian is to be like Jesus, and Jesus is like God.
Yeah, like and being though is too. It
Well,
might seem like a small thing, but it's
No.
quite a big thing, isn't it?
well, to be God would be to be endowed with the gift and the power of creation, but to be like God is to be like Jesus. This is what Christianity teaches. Jesus didn't commit any sins. He was the perfect man as such, which is all that man can be, the perfect man.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can achieve the perfect man, then you are like God. Theoretically, but you don't have the power of God. But it's just that word God, that's why people don't use it. You can use it in good and funny ways.
Mm-hmm.
As me say, you know, I like there is only God, because that's the reality. In most of these societies, everything is about God. Christian England, Muslim countries, there is only God. Hindu, Buddhism, there is only God. Everywhere you go, there is only God.
Do you think that?
Other than Buddhism, remember Buddhism is no God. Buddhism
Well,
believe that you are God, and so Buddhism
Again.
is you are the divine.
you know,
There isn't a God. There
But
isn't
then-
a...
I'm gonna say there isn't a God word, but I bet if we dig deep enough, we're gonna find
There's
that
some
there is,
big creative, yeah.
you know, that Ishwara wasn't there when we started looking at Hinduism.
That's this is the
That
first
was
video.
first with it, innit?
Yeah, I was thinking that because this is the first video.
But do you think that they're all like all the holy books and different words for God? They're all interpretations of it in a way, and given to you in a way that helps you to
Well, like,
digest what it is. Because if you said to a child, everything is God, there's only God, it's all God, like, how's that child going to, like, in this world with so many distractions, things going on, and they go to school and the teacher's like, why are you doing that? And he goes, because there's only God. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it breaks it down,
100%. But
so
it's
it makes
to
it
what
more
degree,
digestible
isn't it?
and more
Yeah.
palatable for everybody. And I think that you go around the world and each way it's broken down. So the West
In a
is
different
broken
way,
down
yeah.
in a different way, and then the East
It
is
is,
broken down in a
right.
different way.
Let's go back to the Rastaman thing. So, 1930s Jamaica, staunchly Christian society, and then you have this group which suddenly wants to be poor and reflect a bad image on what the general populace, and then bring forth ideas like don't eat particular foods and abstain from certain things and behaviors. We don't need to wear shoes. Like I say, that had to grow in an environment where everything was hostile. The Prime Minister said the only good Rasta is one at Dovecat, and tell them to catch them, kill them, or trim them. This is how extreme it was. And this is what I said. After all of that, Rastafari and Bob Marley and marketing made it very popular. Now we have Sizzla and the infighting in the camp because there is no structure to what it is. You know, really there was only God. But because them all considering God, everybody wanted to be a God and have them own interpretation. And that's where the division come. In the beginning, it was just a break against Christianity, even though it was using the same Bible.
Sorry.
So, like me say, Catholic, for the Catholics, they said the cross is all roads lead to Rome. So the center of the cross is Rome. Whichever way you come from, you're gonna end up in Roman Catholic thing. And that's why it's called the universal religion. Catholic mean universal. So it's a bit of this, a bit of that. They all are. But there is only God in all of these things. Effectively, I like that. There's only God. Because the people just mess it up.
Yeah, essentially.
Getting confused, right? Just because they're bad.
Now, in the final part of this presentation, let's consider some possible shortcomings in Vedanta's highly rational approach to Ishvara that rejects belief. When you think about it, Vedanta's logic and reason don't seem very helpful if you want to cultivate intense emotions of love and reverence for Ishvara. the precise definition we've discussed doesn't seem to directly lead to a practice of heartfelt prayer, veneration, and worship. After all, no one prays to a material and efficient cause. We pray to an all-powerful and all-knowing Supreme Being. Most Hindu traditions that emphasize devotion, bhakti, are not based on scholarly Vedantic teachings. Instead, they're based on devotional teachings associated with mythological stories, stories about forms of Ishvara like Krishna, Shiva, Vishnu, and Ganesha. Most of those stories are found in the Puranas, where gods and goddesses are elaborately portrayed together with their divine attributes, their supernatural deeds, and their extraordinary blessings bestowed on sincere devotees. Those Puranic stories can certainly inspire intense devotional feelings, especially in Hindus who grew up listening to such stories. But for many, including spiritual seekers like me who were not raised in Hindu families, those stories often fail to provide a strong foundation for devotional practices. So we can ask, is it possible to develop intense feelings of devotion to Ishvara without believing in those stories of gods and goddesses? Is it possible to develop devotion through spiritual knowledge alone? Absolutely. In the Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere, knowledge of Ishvara is extolled.
I think you can, to say, going back to saying there is only God, you can still feel gratitude and gratefulness for your current situation, or the fact that you have life alone, and say life is good in it. I always think no matter what, I'm alive in it. Life is good because I'm alive. So I'm here. I'm fortunate to be in this part of the world sometimes. And yeah.
But I think that's like the difference between some people need something above them and to keep them
it's going back to what I was just saying before.
This is what I mean. Whereas other people can just see the beauty
in
what is in front of them.
I must say, if I ever feel like my ego is getting the better of me, and I feel like I'm this powerful, almighty thing, sometimes I'll humble myself in it by thinking there is something greater than me. And there is always something greater than you, because no matter where you are, you could have £1 billion, you could be the most humble person, and you could be the most giving, what do you call it when you go, what Bill Gates is pretending to be?
A philanthropist, what's it called?
It starts with A in it, like, not altruism.
That's so.
Not altruism. What's the thing?
I know you're talking about Leonardo DiCaprio's about like philanthropic, not
philanthropy. Yeah. You could be all these things, but you never know. Behind closed doors, I may have like a God complex or something. But I always try and check myself by thinking, no, there's always something that can check me in it.
Yes, this is what I was going to say. It's weird that you'd say, like, you know, when you get like that, you feel like there's something that could be that
the ego can get the better of you. Like,
Listen.
I always look beneath me on it.
Right.
So I don't look like say, yeah, there's something better than me, but I know there's a lot of people that are doing a lot worse. So I see, and through my experiences in life, I can see how 1 second you can feel like you got everything, and then just by a flick of a switch, you can have nothing. And
100%.
so that's what would humble me, not the thought of, oh yeah, there's something above me, or something better than me, or
But then I think that's another reason why there's different gods in, say, Hinduism, because each person has a different disposition and sensitivities, don't they?
But that's what they say. You've hit that nail on the head, and it. The gods come to you in Hinduism as you accept
need
them. Like like that's what they're saying. That's why there's so many.
Makes sense.
Go on, Bob.
Gita and elsewhere, knowledge of Ishvara is extolled as a powerful means for cultivating devotion. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says quite plainly, "The wise realize my divine nature and worship me with devoted hearts. After gaining knowledge of me as the imperishable source of all beings." But how can mere knowledge of Ishvara possibly lead to intense emotions of love and reverence? Well, consider this. In India, many couples are wedded as a result of arranged marriages. For this reason, it's not unusual for newly married couples to hardly know each other. But over a period of time, they come to know each other better and better. And as that knowledge grows deeper, their feelings of love and intimacy also grow deeper. This example suggests that as your knowledge of Ishvara grows deeper and deeper, you can indeed cultivate intense emotions of love and reverence. That was certainly my experience. As a young man who...
I agree that sometimes it takes you to go outside of... Because if you're in a relationship with somebody, and you go out, you don't want to compare yourself to other people's relationships, because that's never productive.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to like your relationship with God, then it's easier to kind of understand the union between woman and man, or man and man, or however you want to look
In
at
that
it.
aspect.
Yeah, from what you're saying, innit? Like, if you think, well, how would this be deemed in the eyes of of something divine, for instance, and then think about your actions that way, it then builds a stronger bond between you and your partner.
100%. It's like I was saying to you earlier, like I don't feel like, it's kind of like when people say they're Christian and you're born in a Christian country, but really you're just living your life and you're just born in a Christian country, and you probably went to church a couple of times when you was younger, your nan was a Christian, so you know a couple readings from the Bible. Or yeah, so as I was saying, it's kind of like how can you can be born in this country, you're a Christian, you read a couple of scriptures, you know that, but that's just your family, isn't it? So that I only think that if you are religious and you truly believe in God, I only really think that you can have that relationship if you question it. Like, relationships are grown over time, and like we've said this thing about love, like some people believe in love at first sight. I don't believe in love at first sight. How can you love someone if you don't know them? Yeah. You don't love someone you don't know.
You can feel
get to know them.
An intense attraction.
You can have an intense attraction. That's emotion, isn't it?
But I do think that intense attraction can be a signal of a potential.
100%. But when you love, I think that like if you love someone, if you're in a relationship, like you have to really know that person, like their thoughts, their feelings. Like how, like you can love the look of someone, but how can you fall in love with someone that you don't know? That don't make no sense. You might want to love that person, but later on down the line, when you start to see all them red flags, and you're like, actually, oh, you know what? Maybe it wasn't love. Maybe it was a bit of lust.
But then, is that not love? When you see people's red flags and you love them regardless of them,
that's love, isn't it?
And then you learn how to navigate that.
See what I'm saying? So that's love, then, isn't it?
But is love like once you're in love, that's it? You're just in love. You can't be in love and then out of love.
No, of course you can fall out of love. That's not what I'm saying.
That's why people meet someone, fall in love, and then wake up the next morning and all the makeup fell off and
But then I'd say that wasn't love, because I don't think you can love people without knowing them. Yeah. How can you love someone you don't know? If you don't know someone's thoughts, what they think, how they react to things, how can you love them?
I think you can, but I think it's dangerous.
Why can't you love them?
Because surely there's a deeper connection to love than just like...
That's just your definition of love, though, because if you, for example, some people have like fallen in love with someone who's doing life in prison. Yeah. How and why, I have absolutely no idea how they do it. But they have a relationship with someone who's incarcerated before they meet them. So that use of the word love is in context, like I said. But
And you could also
they do
fall in love
everything.
with someone who has no intention of loving you back, innit?
Yeah, but you being in love doesn't mean that there's
They
a
love you back.
response.
Yeah. But
Or them being in love with you isn't your fault, is it? That's just, I know that guy.
But then
loves
is that
me,
the
yes,
Trinity?
that
Is
girl's
that where
like-
the Trinity thing comes in? Because you got to be able to love each other and have a knowledge of what love is outside of that.
Trinity's separate, man.
I think just
Don't need it
in
mixed
even in
Okay.
a religious context, and you've got to, like he's saying, there's marriages, and I agreed with you there, kind of saying like there's probably a deeper understanding between couples who don't meet. The marriage part is really irrelevant in that to me, but it's like your friends, isn't it? You can meet people, think, yo, this person's sick, get on with them. Wicked, feel like, yo, this is going to be my brethren for life, or I know this person. You could have been raised 5-10 years in it, whatever. But people change, innit? Like you said, you can fall in and out of them things. Doesn't mean that you never love that person. But the difference is, I think love is having a deep, my definition of love is having a deep understanding of that person.
When you start to learn people's motivations and their motives and
That is my definition of love. It's not necessarily what you do for that person or what you're doing. It's having that understanding of, I know my partner's needs. I know the way she feels. I know how she's going to react. That's my definition of love. The rest of it is...
That's a deep love, don't it? I think there is love at first
helps,
sight.
but it's not love, it's just how you deal with your process, like I said. In an arranged marriage situation where he said people got married and they didn't actually know each other and they grew to love each other.
Yeah.
That's not exclusive. Not everybody grows to love each other. Yeah, they
100%.
go with the
100%.
program and maintain, but that don't mean
that
there
don't
was
mean
love
love.
in there.
Yeah, of course,
And
that's right.
this word love is English language overrated. It's not clear. You can use it in one of 50 million different ways.
Yeah.
Everybody uses it to suit purpose. I love my kids, but I killed 2 of them.
It's true, innit? Because it's like when Tina Turner says, "What's love got to do with it?" Innit?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when it comes down to like the longevity of a relationship, it's not always love that keeps you together.
Look at
Sometimes it's faith in
opportunity
each other.
as well.
Sometimes
Faith. Look at old couples and people say, they don't make relationships like they do anymore.
It's all sorts of reasons.
A lot of women couldn't leave the household before, so their grandparents did have these 60, 70-year relationships.
Yeah.
But the grandmom was getting beaten by the granddad.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh no, I wanted a relationship. Like, no, you didn't know what was really going on in that relationship. You just attached love to the years of how long they were together, rather than what was actually happening.
There's devotion then, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, but your love isn't based on the fact that they have a life. It's you love them for the idea of what you have with them, and isn't that how love is? The idea you have of someone. That's why you love them. Yeah. It isn't what they actually are.
Yeah, because you never really know what they're thinking.
So love, like I said,
That's
is
another
just
video.
a state of mind, effectively.
Watch a Disney film or something, can you discuss it? Yeah.
Go, let's finish this.
As a young man who was allergic to religion, I wasn't inclined to believe anything whatsoever. Not surprisingly, when I began to study Advaita Vedanta, the mythological stories in the Puranas didn't attract me at all. Back then, I admitted to a fellow student, I don't have a devotional bone in my body. Yet, over a period of years, I gradually developed a rich and meaningful prayer life. For decades now, most of my mornings begin with prayer, puja, and meditation on Ishvara. But how could heartfelt bhakti like that take root in a hyper-rational non-believer like me? Well, studying Sri Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita has probably helped me more than anything else. Other Vedantic teachings have also helped a lot, like the dream metaphor we discussed before. With the help of all those teachings, I've gradually come to feel that the world around me is truly a divine manifestation of Ishvara. Everything I see, hear, taste, smell, and touch seems to be endowed with divinity. When I go for a walk on the beautiful trails behind our ashram, I feel like I'm walking through Ishvara. as if I'm surrounded by Ishvara, or embraced by him, so to speak. My own body and mind also seem like divine manifestations of Ishvara. With age, they take on a unique kind of beauty, like a favorite old book that you still treasure in spite of all its loose pages.
It's always interests me, and it always made me think about God. I find that older people, not old people, older people, young people generally. Like when I was a kid, I was probably indoctrinated by my school, singing hymns every little day, and I believed God that way. Then as a teenager, 20s, 30s, I was down the atheist path. Like I didn't believe. And I always used to look around. My mum was always like, no, it's God. She wouldn't push it on me, but she always maintained that she believed in God. And Jesus and whatever she was believing in. And I didn't really subscribe to it still. But I always used to think, why is it that I find that older people kind of turn to religion or God as you get older? And I understand myself now. It's not because I thought it was fear, but I genuinely, it's what he's saying in it. As you grow closer to there being only God, it also grows closer to you, and you feel like it's all around you. That me personally, that's how it feels to me. You know?
Yeah. But isn't that like? Let me jump in before I forget. You grow up in a house, all your needs are met, everything provided, but you get to an age where you think, yo, I don't like what my parents are saying to me. I know better and this and that. So no longer do you actually see the Ishvara. You close your mind to the fact that you ain't paying for nothing, you ain't buying food, you ain't shopping, paying bills or nothing. And you develop this mindset of the higher mindset. That's the teenage journey. Even though everything's there for them, and if they stayed on the path, they could go and be a brain surgeon. They veer off into this well. You know, everything I think is more relevant than the fact that mom buys the food, so maybe I could wash the dishes or contribute. And that's when you're outside the Ishvara. But when you're inside it, like I say, is when you come back to that and you realise, hang on a minute, raving on Saturday night isn't really that important. It didn't make no difference. I could have chilled anyway, and I'd have still been in this Ishvara. But because that little thing in me is always there, saying I gotta do what I wanna do, then you mash up your existence.
But I think that there's power in that.
Becomes the X.
You know, when you're a teenager and you feel rebellious and you feel powerful in it, and
Is that what you see when you see a teenager, someone who's powerful? Don't you see someone who's lost?
Yes, I think I think you gain strength.
No, that's what I'm saying. From where we are now, and I work with teenagers. I don't see someone who, in their mind, is powerful, but that's what I'm saying. You're already in paradise, and you're burning it down to get out, to go in hell.
But I think it's important to be rebellious. It's important to have a rebellious nature.
Not everybody does it though.
Even to this day, me saying that I think there's only God, I still feel like I'm a rebel. And I think that it's important to be, because I don't think that you should take
rebel to what though?
Without a pause in it. Like, I think without a pause, no, I think that there should always be a part of you that questions.
Of course.
Without a pause. No, not a cause, but without a pause, mate. I think that you should always question things, and if you don't have that rebellious streak, you won't question things as much.
Rebel and question go together in the same sentence. Yes,
but we know that where we live in the West, things aren't really the way they should be, are they? So it's important to have. Maya Angelou said, you should be angry. Stay angry in it.
Angry about what?
The way things are set up in, like, the way things run, the way that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Like, that's not how it should be. Yeah.
Is that what young people are angry about? Rich getting richer and poor
I'm still angry about the same things I was angry about as a teenager, which was the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, and things like energy prices hiking up, yet them saying that they can't afford energy, they can't afford fuel, yet the fuel companies have made record profits. and the politicians are making record wages that they've ever made and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me angry still to this day. I could have just fell back and thought, you know what, it's just the way it is. This is what we're going to do.
You know
But I
what?
feel angry about it because I've rebelled.
Yeah, to bring it back though to what you're saying about as you've got older, you've seen why you think more.
Yeah.
Not old people, but older people. Or when you've matured,
Yes.
you find more peace. Again, I just think that's just knowing yourself again.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these things to me, like people look at like an outside intrinsic reason for why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
I'm always just looking at inside.
Looking in.
Why am I doing what I'm doing? The reason why I'm so like comfortable at 30, 40 is because I've got 40 years of experience on the planet. So therefore, I should know myself better than I did when I was 20.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? So everything, now when I walk around, I can walk around in peace because I know myself. It's not because I feel like, there's I feel anymore that there's a God or a being who's doing something that he wasn't doing that they were doing when I was 20.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't align with me, because I genuinely feel like everything that we do, we make our own decisions.
Yeah.
We choose what to do. I don't believe...
Taxes.
Yeah, but I'm talking about fate. I'm talking about like people believing there's a destiny. People believe like things are written. People believe that some outside source is going to affect your life. I feel like if something happens to you, it's up to you to either deal with it or don't deal with it, or deal with it how you can.
But God is not an outside source. There's only God. God is you, God is them, God is everything.
But this is what I'm trying to say to it. But them things to me are dangerous when people say things like that.
Okay.
Because that then can, depending on your mindset, right? It's like when you read them books like The Secret and all that stuff, yeah? It can be dangerous to people who don't have the mindset to actually get up and do what they want to do. Because I feel like everything's going to fall on their lap.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, there's a million people who can sit in their house and go, I want a Lamborghini, I want a Lamborghini, I'm going to manifest this, I want a Lamborghini. But then they don't get up and do the work to get it. Because they feel like, I'm going to do this.
I thought about it, it's already done.
Yeah, I'm going to pray for it and it's going to come.
But then again, it's interpretation of it and your
100%.
perception of what you're reading and your understanding. Like, The Secret is saying, like, yeah, you can manifest what you want, but you've got to basically The Secret's just telling you to visualize what you want in it, but it doesn't say that you haven't got to work for it.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So, but what I'm saying is dangerous, and
I think we're going off the mark, bro. Is right. They're talking about the creation, the beauty of nature, effectively.
Yes.
You were talking about life generally and obstacles and items and things.
Yeah.
So his focus is, the issue is I'm walking in the park and suddenly the trees look greener than they did yesterday.
So that's peace, isn't it? That's inner peace, isn't it?
Because he's in a better place than he
This
was.
is what I was trying to say. I feel what he was
Before he
saying.
didn't even see the park, because he'd been in a taxi going to work. Now
The sun shines on your leg as you're thinking a certain thought, and you're like, whoa, what's that? I get that all the time. Like, I feel like he feels in the video all the time. Like, when he says he walks through the park, physics all around him. I feel like that all the time.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I was at peace, completely at peace, and I think that it's important not to be at peace, because I don't feel like I've done what I need to do on this earth before I'm sit down and be at peace. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's work to be done around me.
What do you need to do?
I just feel like there's work. I feel like I can have an influence on things, on the world, that will help either bring more people peace, or not peace, but bring more people
peace, man.
Yeah, peace.
Peace,
yeah.
Like, people some healing, yeah, definitely.
Not healing, like,
it is, don't it? Like, you feel like you can essentially help people.
Help others, and
to achieve what they want to achieve.
Because I get the impression that this guy, he's doing a video, and it's a powerful video, man. But I get the impression that, like, he does spend a lot of his time walking through parks and devoting himself to God.
Meditation, yeah.
Whereas I feel like I have things that need to be done before I can just sit. I mean, meditation is powerful and it's important. I think, like, a lot of the people that are successful in the world, depending on your definition of success, a lot of people that are successful swear by meditation. But what are they meditating to? What are they meditating for again?
Right. First, we don't know this geezer.
Yeah.
Maybe he's billionaire. So he don't need to do lots of different things. His pressure is different.
Yes.
Every single man, adult, has to make choices. But how you keep yourself balanced is the issue, is how you keep yourself balanced. You have to work and deal with your responsibilities. We got to keep your sanity and keep you, don't bring your aggression home and find a way to make everything work. That issue is about what I would call the real life element versus the world impact on you, I would say. And and depending where you're coming from, for you now, you say, certain time I'm good, but then I still need to challenge myself. You're always going to challenge yourself because that's how you run your thing, you get me? He likes to think certain. He's always going to do that. Even if you became a devout monk, you would still have that approach and that mindset. That's how you problem solve. That's how you do everything.
Balance.
But, the task becomes the same, whether it's you in terms of achieving that peace or self-attainment. Everyone's just kind of gesturing to that in their own unique ways, and everyone has different viewpoints and experiences. But like I said, call it God. The God thing is what you were talking about. I feel like this and I feel like that. That is some God shit, bro. Because you're just like the next man. Nobody don't feel. You drive a car, you can run someone over. Try running them over when you're running with your body. It don't work quite the same. You understand? So this is what I say. I don't know where the ego and the God business come from. Man and man is the same. Everybody just got to get through this thing. Like I say, for him, grace is his biggest concern. For you, your junior bubbly. You understand? Everything you're going to do is going to be influenced by that from the day they was born. Regardless of how trivial it is, it increases and changes. Your thinking change. I could have did that because I know that I'd never seen them again. I didn't.
Yeah.
So it changes, but the need is about keeping that balance, keeping your mental health and your mental wealth. And, you can always have challenges and things that come up. I used to run up and down. Now I can sit down in the house and cook food and chill. I don't think I'm any less effective. I just don't need to feel to be animated or broadcasting that, I got a thing, I always had ideas. Nobody ever gave me an idea. So this is what I say. I continue to have them. I just deal with my things different because I'm older. I don't need to put a sign out or this is what I say. Or need an X5. I'm calm. I just need the car that's going to get me to where I'm going. You understand?
Yeah, Mom.
Freeze.
Pages and its broken binding. When I teach a class or work on producing a video like this one, I feel so grateful for the skills and intelligence that Ishvara has given me. When I start a new project, I know that the outcome of my efforts will be determined by Ishvara, according to his intelligent order that governs the universe. During morning puja, the deities on my little altar connect me to a divinity that's immeasurably vast and infinitely powerful. And when I close my eyes for prayer or meditation, I can sense that beyond the manifestation of Ishvara that surrounds me and sustains me, there's an even greater reality, a reality that transcends the universe, like a dreamer transcends his dream world. Now, I have to admit that I don't always feel such a profound sense of being intimately connected to Ishvara. Each day, there are many times when I get distracted or absorbed in mundane matters, and I temporarily lose that sense of Ishvara's divine presence. After all, I'm a normal human being, not a great saint. But that profound sense of intimacy is always accessible. It's always available. It only takes a moment of prayerful reflection. Ishvara is never more than one thought away. I've just shared some very personal observations about myself. My intention here is not to demonstrate any kind of spiritual accomplishment.
To me, you see everything he's saying there, that is pretty much how I see myself, you know. I'm always under God thing. I can't get out of it. It's just there all the, and it rules and dictates, but it doesn't make me want to have that laid back persona. So I say, yo, I'm a yard man. I want to be who I am, even though I believe this. I'm an anti-smoker, but you understand? I'm a this, but so this is what I'm saying. The issuer is your essence and the thing around you, but you can do other things and weigh off it.
But don't you think it's like them things should align?
No?
Don't you think them things should align? See how you say like...
It does, doesn't it?
So
That's the balance. You're trying to get the balance in it.
So you know what I'm saying? If you, because essentially what you're doing is saying like you're an anti-smoker, what you like smoking, and that's what you're saying. So surely,
Yeah, but that's just
you
a
find
bad
more
example.
balance if but I'm saying like so all them things like you're a yard man, but you know really should be in the mosque praying 5 times a day.
No, that doesn't dictate what a yard man does. If everybody prays, that's got nothing to do with being a yard.
But what I'm saying is like you can be. What I'm trying to say is intrinsically, then you're fighting against yourself, and
No.
because if you believe that really you shouldn't smoke, but then you love smoking, then is that not contradictory?
No.
It is, but life is a contradiction, and I think that's the
It's
thing
not
that
that.
separates the
It's
things
not
that
that.
give
If
real
I was
balance.
giving advice, like I said, forget the smoking thing. Let's go back to the God thing. Like I said. Right. As I said, that's a bad example because that's so limited. You can't even get past that. With the Isra thing, like I said, it's about life. The feeling you get when you walk in the park with Grace, when you get off the plane, you're in this. It's about going to that place where it's actually having an impact on your life. You become conscious to something. Mm-hmm. You're not just in the airport, but you're conscious to being in the airport. Mm-hmm. So it's not just being in the car, but you're kind of in the car with something. You get me?
Basically.
It's a state of mind. So yeah, you're anti this, but at this point, you know, I'm thirsty, but I'm going to stay here for another 4 hours because I'm good. I want to go to the toilet, but I can hold it because I'm good. Even though I was bursting when I came, but it just left my mind and it's gone. That issue is that's, like I said, that safe place, really.
I think when there's so many influences, afflictions, addictions
that's
in
real life.
the world, that's real life. And I think that the issue helps to bring balance to those things. So as long as you've got that there, all them things can affect you, but you can always come back to the middle and bring back the balance in it.
But this is what I'm saying to you, innit? So I think like it ultimately depends on how you view or what your outcomes are going to be and what you want your outcomes to be. So if you're happy, so this is exactly what I was saying. I'm happy like being a contradiction because I don't think there's anything to judge me. So realistically, I can act however I want at any given moment. It does not matter. I don't say I bow or bend to this rule or I think I should live my life that way. If I really want to do something, as long as I ain't like hurting my loved ones, I'm just gonna do it. There ain't no like for me.
I judge myself.
I need to get. Yes, this is what I'm saying. So I judge myself on how I behave. I don't need someone else to say if I act like this.
But do you ever judge yourself and think maybe that I shouldn't be doing that?
100%. If
Don't you
you
think
do
that's
of course.
in the same kind of thing?
No, because I'm not doing it to find peace from anyone else.
No, but you're doing it to find peace within yourself, innit? Which is the same thing as trying to find peace from, say, a guide in a book that's telling you that he's going to judge you for this, this and this. Because you've still got a set of principles and morals in your head that you should adhere to. Sometimes you might stray from them.
Definitely, 100%.
I'm going to jump in there now. To me, it's like you go around with a group of guys who all carry guns. You know someone's going to get shot eventually, but every day you go around with the same guys.
Yeah.
But by the virtues, you know someone's going to get shot. I suppose you're hoping it's not going to be you or you're going to be the shooter. But the reality is just by where you are, you know, so yeah.
Look at the most important scene in Boys in the Hood. When they're driving, and he says, "Let me out." Stops the car, lets him out. There's 4 of them in the car, innit?
Yeah, but that's different contents in what I'm saying.
Well, the issue is knowing right from wrong, innit?
There was no
Well, no,
questions
the-
asked in there. It was just,
And it's not
issue-
right as in do this, but like I said, if you're in a dangerous thing, you know, you're in there, you know, you wouldn't send your daughter around the house with those mans. You know, you don't take things for granted.
But this is the difference on it. So with the Ishra, yeah, because this is like the Hindu principle.
Mm-hmm.
So their principles align with my principles more so. And you two seem very aligned with these principles.
Some of
all I'm
them.
saying
More
is,
so
all I'm
than-
saying
Some
is
of them.
if you know better, you should do better.
Yeah, but yeah, 100%. But what I'm trying to say is also you should live without
The way you are.
not in conflict with yourself 24/7 for something that you don't know.
That part.
That's
yeah,
what I'm
100%.
trying to
Yeah, because
say.
if you don't know it, you don't know it. Anyway.
So
you don't
if
do better
believe-
because you don't know.
So this is what I'm saying. So to me, if you say like, I believe in God, yeah, whichever God you believe in, I believe in God. So there's a set of principles that you say you're going to live by, just by nature.
Why
Oh,
just
no.
because you believe in God?
No. I'm talking about, alright then, so if you're part of a...
They change
monotheist
though.
religion,
If you're in a
Principles
gang.
change.
if you're in a gang,
Right,
if
so
you're
the
in a
gang has rules, right?
the gang
So
has
let's
rules.
get it right. That's not
Like,
the same as
can
believing
change.
in gang.
Yeah, but to me then that means also, okay, so you, alright, so there's no point in having a gang. If you just want to
And
change
that's
the
why
rules,
the
then
geezers
it's
and
what
boys
you
and
come
would
up
stop
with,
the
innit?
car and they all let him out the car.
That's
innit?
why the gangs are so, there are so many gangs, because no one has a set of rules that everybody will agree with.
Yeah, so this is my point. So when you've got something like Israel, yeah, everything is God. Like I said, yeah, I can attest to that.
Not everything is
Everything,
God's own.
yeah, but yeah. There's only God in it.
Yeah.
Whereas with other religions, there isn't that principle. So if we're talking about the fact that we're all Hindus and we're talking like that, then I'll be like, yeah, that's cool.
Is that what we are now? Yeah.
I think I got one that might work. You know, like I said, we all live in water. So even now we're in water because air is water.
Yeah.
But we don't see
Wow.
the water or nothing.
So
And the
that's
issue
cool.
is like that, it's there all the time. It's just you don't have that consciousness of it being there because
No.
it's wet and
But you do know
No,
that you
no.
know because you're a science man.
Yeah.
You know that everything's interconnected and everything's like interconnected at the same time. Nothing's touching anything.
Yeah. But that's
atoms.
But what we're talking about is like, so this is what I'm trying to explain.
It's a long one, you know.
There's a difference between being like a being in it. So the Hindu principles, I get, but I'm not questioning the Hindu principles because, like I said, they are quite aligned with my principle of thoughts. But when I'm extending that to other religious practices, what I'm trying to convey is that why would I live in conflict with myself?
Because of
Yeah, because you are talking about like the issue, and I'm saying so. Yeah, I get that. Like everything, like I say this all the time, and everything. I don't say everything is God, but I enjoy the beauty in everything.
Yes.
That's the whole point. Like, so when I walk down the road, I see the beauty in life. I don't need there to be nothing up there to tell me that
But it's not.
this is. Yeah, but I'm saying that I don't need nothing
I'm not
above
saying.
me.
I'm not. I'm just.
I'm not saying
letting
up there.
you know,
I'm saying
not
above me, a creator, a supreme being. That's what we're talking about. And that's what
But
other
even that
religions are.
has a connotation in a way that's.
But
like
that's what
nature.
other religions saying. God is a creator,
Yeah.
a supreme.
But that's why I like this video because it's finding God without faith,
Yeah.
and this is what I've always tried to do. Like I started, like I said, I was reading the books at first, but then I stopped reading them because I felt like I was being pulled in one way or the other.
So this is what I'm saying.
It's
to you.
supposed to
You
be.
don't. But this is the whole point. I like to know about these things, but it doesn't sway the way I live my life because I just feel like, you know what? I
It
think
does,
you can
bro.
be a good person,
Come on, man.
but it doesn't because I
Because
feel like I
you are-
know my
you-
moral compass
Yeah, but
already.
you've got that moral compass. Where have you got it from?
Good question.
Where's your moral compass coming from, bro?
But that's
Good
yeah,
morals and it goodness.
Yeah. Fair enough then, but we can't get away from that, can you? Because you're just born into that. But at some point, you choose to be good or bad.
You make choices.
You make
but
choices. There's
you
many,
weigh
plenty
them
of
up
things.
based on the things around you and the influences.
Exactly.
This is what I say, if you're in bad company, you're probably gonna make bad choices.
100%.
If you're in good company, you're probably gonna make better choices.
So
Last minute.
I feel like conflict with yourself is the problem.
There's no conflict because you're free to
Rather,
worship
to
or
make a
practice what you want.
particular
You're free not to believe or nothing. How can there be conflict? Everybody's free to believe and do what they want. There's no conflict at all. You free not to choose.
See, I think no, but I think for you there's no conflict. Now I know a lot of people that are having constant conflict with themselves in terms of whether they're religious. Like we know people who are religious who definitely in conflict with themselves because the way they act.
For example, give me.
I can't. Well, you don't
think
know
that
them, so I'm not going to say.
Not names, but like what
I think that
examples
comes
of
when
what
people
that
do things that they
manifested.
know they shouldn't be doing. They know deep down, I really shouldn't be doing this. Or
Like
they've,
what,
they've
though?
come to a
Like
certain
what,
point in
though?
their life or
Like
learning
what, though?
Want
what
to
We're not-
change themselves.
Smoking, for example,
They
smoking
want
cigarettes.
To change.
Say someone smokes cigarettes and they've read so much scripture, Christian scripture, to them it's like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to do it because
like I say,
I'm a man of the world. You know what I mean?
no.
Yeah, guys, just
To
before let's
make
watch
a
the last video.
particular
Let's watch
point.
this and then
It's
we'll
just-
come back to it.
And the point is,
Let's
if
finish.
someone as unlikely as
Listen.
me can develop a rich and meaningful prayer life with the help of Vedanta's teachings, then anyone can.
Rich, meaningful
Such
prayer
is the
life.
power of these teachings.
Cool, let's go back in there. Right, what you right. First and foremost, faith is about a set of rules that have been established. You can't make yours up and say if you put your toe in hot water, that's a sin. All the sins have already been established. Sin is, turning away from the laws of God. So the fact that you are not happy with smoking doesn't make it a sin. So that person who doesn't want to smoke, it's up to them what they want to do. But for you can't say smoking is a sin because the sins are written in the Bible. So the only sin that you can say a man would be committing are the ones that are listed. You can't just say, oh, you own a Marshall, that's a sin. You understand?
Yeah.
So you can't say anything is somebody else's sin.
Yeah.
It's them that has to deal with.
This is-
Someone
That's
has,
the point I was making. I think
Right.
once you've decided yourself that it's a sin and you continue to do it, then you're in conflict
no,
with
but you
yourself.
can't
innit?
decide it's a sin. This is the point. Sins are clearly
Alright,
set out,
once you decide
right?
it's something
But
that
if it's
you don't
something
want
you don't
to
want to do in your life,
Yeah.
it doesn't make it a sin. It just means it's something you don't want to do.
Okay, sin's wrong.
Right.
Alright, so guys, so basically, can you find God without faith?
Absolutely. We just
After watching the video, as in,
I come in on this video because I've seen it on the screen before you
It
come
was
in. and I thought,
interesting.
I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah. I think, like I said, for me personally, I like, and I do, like when we've been doing this journey, whether it's Buddhism or Hinduism, I like what they're saying. I like the fact there isn't a heaven and hell. I like the fact that it does align with a lot of like science and quantum. I like them aspects of it. So this was no different. I like the fact that, like you said, whether you call it God or not God, I would choose not to. But as he says, isn't it? Everything. There's only God in it. There isn't one God. But if we believe in the way I live my life, like I believe in, when I wake up and I get up, I just see the beauty in the world, innit? I like people. I see like
That's
people
good.
are good people.
There's good
Like,
in bad and there's bad in good in it.
Exactly. So I tested them. So yeah, man, I think depending on what you think God is, then yeah, you don't need faith, and you just need an understanding of your circumstance, basically, and be at peace with it. Essentially, that's what you want, innit? You live in your life, and I guess most people go or become religious to find peace with their own life.
Or to arm themselves with like an armour in it. Because sometimes say, as a child, a young child that's influenced easily led, and the amount of things in this world, compared to when we were kids alone, let alone when you were a kid, like the things that they see now, I feel like they need more of an armour than we did. Because there's so much more influences, there's so much more temptation.
I mean, this is another conversation, but we say that, but there's also a lot more outlet. Do you understand that? When we, like, probably different for us to when you was growing up, like now, like, there's so many people you can go and talk to. Like, whereas before, I can imagine as a kid, if you something wrong with you or something, you were just getting,
But there's also
you
so
were
much
just getting slapped in the head
misinformation.
and sent away.
There's also
like,
so much misinformation, fake news, and all these things. So
Yeah,
they could be going to someone at school. I need to talk with someone because I'm conflicted, and it's like it's Mr. Slave. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know if you ever watched South Park. There's a geezer called Mr. Slave, but he's part of the LGBTQ community. So he might go there and get one opinion, and then he might go to someone else and get a completely different opinion.
It's narratives